Hi guys, so it's my first time doing a voiceover and I am absolutely extremely nervous. So please bear with me. I always thought that I didn't have a voice for doing voiceover, so we'll see how this goes, determine if I like it. Maybe I'll just keep going back to putting music on my videos. But today I want to talk about the Vicky Booten color study series that I'm doing. So I take one kit or one project each week, and I do as much as I can out of that kit in order to kind of like kill the kit. So think of it like a kill the kit series. So I have had this Vicky Booten color study since it came out. So excited. I love the colors in it. I love everything about it. Even got the project pad. I have another video that kind of does like a show the materials that I have for this kit, and I plan on using everything in the kit. So for this, I really wanted to do some scrapbooking pages. Normally I make cards, but my background is in scrapbooking. So I'm so excited to get back and do some scrapbooking. These pages that I make, these pre-designed pages that I make, they are and will be for sale on my website at conceivecraftcreate.com. And you're more than welcome to go and purchase them. I also do embellishment kits, the cards that I make on this website, well as many other things. So definitely give that a chance to check out. So for this, I love that star sparkly paper. Um, I'm actually hoarding it. I really, really, really need to use it. But I am so in love with that paper. I need to see if I can go and find and buy another sheet. I think they only have it with that sparkly in the project pad. So I don't even know if they have the project pads anymore. Normally you can only get those at Joann's. So what I'm doing here is I am showing you guys the sketch that I'm going to use. It will be a sketch by the cherry on top, not to be confused with a cherry on top, the craft store where I buy a lot of my things from, but this is called the cherry on top. I pulled the sketch off of Pinterest. It is also on one of my Pinterest boards if you would like to use the same sketch. So here I'm just following the sketch. I've put my iPad slightly above so that I can look at it. And I would not say that I am particularly a fast crafter. If you ask my mother-in-law, she will tell you that I go through it so quickly. But this is actually not even real time. I do have this video sped up, I think by 1.5 speed, just because I like to spend a lot of time adjusting, readjusting, changing things around, making sure my lines are straight. For a long time, I could not get lines straight on my line cutter. I don't know if it was just a me thing. It was a huge learning curve for me to do cutting a straight line. So I always still take my time with my line cut. I line up again. I measure a million times, and then that way I just have to cut once. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I do have to cut again. I don't know what is with me, but for some reason, me and straight lines are just not friends. So here I'm doing the strips. I'm kind of going through off camera here and finding different pieces that I may not have on my table. Like, for example, I have the regular paper pad, you can see it there, but my project pad is off to the right of me. So I was digging around in that to make sure. I have some strips that I used from another project I was doing. I was making some cards at a crop that I had gone to this past weekend. So I'm just trying to use up some of them scraps. I really am not a big scrap person. I know that sounds horrible. I hate to waste, but if it's a whole bunch of strips, I usually have a hard time with using them just because I don't know, I'm focused on the big picture. I like the big papers, and it's hard for me to use the strips. So I am quite glad that I am doing a layout that requires me to go into some of those scraps and pull out those strips and use them, because otherwise I with good intention, I always take my little strips, I put them in a little bin or in a little baggie and say, I'm going to use these. And then I don't use them. So I'm trying to make an effort to do more with my strips. There are tons of videos on YouTube about what to do with your paper strips. You could sort of take this video as one of the videos you could watch for this, but for strips. But I will be honest, I am not a huge strip user, and I will try to do better about that in the future. So what you see here is I've also have the 6x8 paper pad as well. There's that star paper, but it's not the one with the glittery background, or the foiled background. So from the 6x8 pad of this collection, I decided to pull some strips from there. I needed some longer strips without having to cut into a full sheet of paper. So that 6x8 pad is really good for doing this. I love 6x8 pads just because they're so good for my card making. I have a fear of cutting into big sheets of paper. That has always been the case for me. If it's really pretty, I feel like they should just be in a frame and they shouldn't be used, which is probably why my stash is as big as it is, because I am definitely, if not a scrapbooker, if not a card maker, if not anything to do with paper crafting, I am definitely a paper collector. I have tons of paper, and I have not used them because I'm not a fan of cutting into paper. So I'm going to start sticking these down. I'm not quite so sure about that background paper with the blue, like painty ombre going on that I have to the side there. I'm definitely going to end up changing that out. But while I get my thoughts together, I really didn't like that orange that I flipped that paper on to the back. So I decided I'm just going to place these strips down, and then I'll worry about the background paper after that. As I said, this is done at, I think, 1.5 or 1.75 speed. So that just goes to show you that I am not a quick crafter. And a lot of my videos that you watch will be done much faster than my average speed. Maybe as I get better at this, I will do some regular speed or some lives or, stuff like that. But I am not super quick, regardless of what my mother-in-law says. So I'm getting these strips down. The thing I like about this paper is that it's so versatile. When I first saw this, the sketch that I'm using, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of strips, but I knew that it was going to come together very well with this paper because it's just so colorful and it just coordinates so well. I don't think anything that's as colorful as this or that uses like rainbow colors or any of that stuff is hard to use, especially with doing multiple layers or strips like this, because the paper just makes it so easy that it just all works together. So that's one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about diving into this paper pad. Not because I've had it for 3 years and have just now decided to finally use it, but also because it just coordinates well. The cards that I've made from this kit, as well as this sheet and the other sheets that I will be recording and uploading for these scrapbook pages, they all have this bright, whimsical, and it has nothing to do with my craft skills, trust me. It is everything to do with this gorgeous paper pad. So here I am. I'm looking at this paper, not a fan. I'm going to my big paper pad here, and I'm just going to try to match. I don't want to take away too much from the stripes that I have. I don't want the background paper to be too busy. So I'm kind of going through and trying to see what will work best. I really like that pink. I decided I'm gonna keep looking. This green is also nice. Actually, on the sketch design, it has a striped paper, horizontal stripe as well. Not horizontal, diagonal stripes as well. So I was kind of set on using that green um, diagonal striped paper. But I said, let me go through, see the rest. And then I finally ended up settling on this pink. And the thing about this pink paper, it's heavily distressed. It adds a lot of interest to that background, which actually brings a lot of character to my page. The pink is not overbearing. Yes, I have some strips that are pink there, but I feel like that background pink is not as bad. It still allows the strips to stand out. So I'm quite pleased with the background paper that I picked. Just adding some last minute stripes. I felt like that space was so big there. Um, so I'm gonna do a couple more thin stripes, try to fill up that area. As you can see, like I said, I think it looks pretty straight here, but I end up actually trimming that a bit because it is not quite as straight. As I told you, not great with straight lines. Something I always have been working on. I've been scrapbooking for about 12 years now, and I'm telling you, I have never had a straight line. Never. Even on my cards, I have gotten so much better at doing my 4.5 or 4.25 by 5.5 cards. I can get those straight. Besides the fact that my line cutter literally has a template for that 4.25 by 5.5 sign. But for some reason, when it's really long paper, it is like I move it at the last minute, or I'm not holding it down tightly, or whatever the case. I would like to say that doing those stripes and doing maybe not having super straight strips adds a little character to it. I'll definitely say that. So for this, I have pulled out one of my Stampin' Up inks. It is called Cinnamon Cider. And I am a huge fan of these Stampin' Up ink pads. I've actually had these for quite a few years. They have not dried out. They are still just as wet as they were when I purchased them. So I'm such a big fan of them. Sometimes to get the lid off is a bit difficult, but that's probably why they stay so juicy for such a long time, because it's like, look, we are secure in here. So I just inked up the edges on that, kind of just to bring the focus to that white paper. And now I'm going to put it down on my pink. I have noticed that a lot of YouTubers do not, especially crafty YouTubers, do not use a whole lot of adhesive. Quite a few of the ones that I watch, they don't use a whole lot of adhesive. And maybe they end up saving a lot of money on their adhesive. I like to make sure that it is going to stick down and stay. So I put on a good amount of adhesive. I buy it in bulk, so that makes it easy. But I am a big adhesive person. I don't want any of my stuff moving. I don't want it to pull apart. And that's just, now, I have made mistakes where I've had to pull things apart, which can also be a pain, which is one of the reasons why I don't use as much a liquid adhesive when I'm putting papers together. I do like with my Scotch tape ATG, that even with the quote unquote permanent tape adhesive that I use, I can still pull these up relatively easy, reposition it, and put it back down. So that is my go-to for sure, is with this ATG tape runner. So I don't normally put photos on my layouts just because I make these to sale as pre-designed pages. So you will not, very rarely will I make a page where I will have photos. I need to get back into scrapbooking. I have not probably scrapbooked my family in quite a while. So I have tons and tons of photos And I need to probably get back into my roots, which was crafting and doing scrapbooking with photos. But for these pages, because I sell them, I am going to leave it blank. You can fill it with your own picture. Like I said, for a lot of these, you can still pull these up if you want to add more layers behind the photos. If you've got some embellishments that you want to stick up under there, or another title you want to add to it, like I said, while I put good amount of tape on them, you still can pull these things up and reposition it. If you don't like the photo up in that corner, you can move it down to that right left. I have left a good amount of space that you can add your own things. So that is kind of the point of how I do these. Now, I follow a triangle type method when it comes to my embellishments. And these are the embellishments I've pulled out here. This is one pack. And then I have another pack as well that I'm going to pull out. With my embellishments, I do follow a triangle pattern. So, and that's just from, I think, a lot of the people that I watch who do heavy embellishment. This is not a heavily embellished page. I think it's decently embellished. You can still add more if you want. But I definitely follow that triangle method of, I got a cluster here, I got a cluster there, and then I have a cluster here. And I think that triangle method kind of just draws the eye to what you want the page to be focused on, which is the photo. So here I'm trying a couple of different things. I really like these tabs, but that is just too big, so I'm going to end up cutting it. And then I'm not even going to use that one at all because it's just too big. It sticks off the page. I like it sideways, but it's kind of contrasting with that green that's already over there. So I will continue to look through my stash and see what I have over here. I'm opening the second package just because I haven't found what I'm looking for quite yet. I really, really, really like these banner pieces. I like them. I was going to use them actually on one of my cards, but they are so large, probably because they are focused on for scrapbooking pages. So I think I did make one card. I ended up having to cut it a little bit, but I am a huge, huge fan of banner pieces. Huge fan. If I can make it work, I'm going to try to make it work. I think it adds a lot to the page. So I found another tab, and it's pink, so it's not contrasting so much with that green. So I put it over there, and now I'm just going to glue my title down. The good thing about this title, I am not a huge title person, but I have realized that, I mean, a title is kind of what brings the page together. So I'm going to start adding titles to the page. Normally I do sell, like I said, I do sell pages, and I've noticed that if I add a whole lot and someone doesn't have something that for sure says what the title is, they won't buy that paper because it's like, oh, well, I don't have anything that matches that. It has nothing to do with me. So I try to be very careful about the types of titles that I put on pages. And I try to also leave some space where you can individualize the title to what you are crafting about. This one says Loving This Life of Mine. It's a pretty generic title. You can also add a different title. You can add to this title. You can add more things on it. Under the photo, I also have like a mini title. I'm just showing you what I've done so far. And then I'm going to come in with some of these stickers. I realized I had these sticker pads, but they were over to the side. And I was like, I need to use these because if I don't use them, they're so beautiful. I've got this holographic type feel to it. And I was like, if I don't use them, I'm just going to hoard them. And that's the point of this series, is to use things, not to hoard them. So I'm going to add just a little flair. I saw these little hearts up in that top, and I'm adding them up to that top right corner. Big fan of little hearts, little things. I like little things, but I don't want to overdo it. This little golden heart thing. I was not sure about this. I didn't know where I wanted this to go. Did I want it at the bottom? Did I want it to the bottom left where there's a lot more kind of like open space? But I didn't want to cover up that distressing that you see going on there at the bottom. So I picked it up a couple times. I didn't want it to blend in with that white paper too much. So I scooted it down. I moved it over. I just fiddled so much with this until I could get it almost perfect. And then now I'm looking through. I'm going to pull out my other one, see if I have anything else that I want to add. But I'm pretty sure I don't add anything else to it. This little title. It says just the details. Like I said, pretty generic. It can be taken off, it can be changed out, but I try not to overdo the title things. So I think that's all I end up adding to this. I'm going to look through this thing right here, but I don't see much that I like. I truly am a huge fan of these little arrows. I pull one off. It doesn't really work out for me. I think at that point it just becomes too much. And so that right there, I'm going to be finished with the page. Let me show it off to you. Thanks so much.